Hey guys, welcome back to another episode here. Today we are going to talk about the topic reverse dieting. What does reverse dieting mean? Why do we do this? And why is it important for our overall health? So, I want to explain a little bit what reverse dieting even means because reverse dieting is one of those things is typically it's someone that has been in an extreme calorie deficit for a long period of time and they need to bump those calories back up in order to fuel and nourish their body in a way that supports their overall health, their thyroid, their hormones, their energy, their sleep, and their metabolism. And reverse dieting is something that is very well known and common in the fitness industry for the people that do competitions. Usually, when they're doing competitions, especially someone that's in a figure or bikini competition, they're usually in an extreme calorie deficit to get as lean as they possibly can while also showing some muscle. But you can't do that without an extreme deficit. And so, reverse dieting means that for a period of time, you strategically up your calories slowly. I know that it is really, really important for people to understand what this means and why it's so important. The majority of the people that come to me are under eating. I'm not kidding. And one of the reasons for that is because we've been told over years and years in the diet industry that eat less and you'll lose weight. And I had this conversation with a gal today. We're going over her lab results and I'm asking her like, "Hey, how much are you eating?" Because this gal has a lot of health issues. She's not sleeping well, she has low energy, she has constant aches and pains, and she can't lose weight. And so she's in this chronic cycle of not being able to really do anything and she doesn't know why. And so I asked her like, "Well, how much are you eating?" So she shared this with me and I said, "Well, there's two things here." I said, "Number one, I guarantee you you're not having enough protein. And number two, I also guarantee you you're not eating enough." And she told me, she's like, "Well, if I eat more, I gain weight instead of losing weight." And I said, "Well, it's not just about eating more, it's about eating more of the right things in the right balance." So, a lot of times when people up their calories, they're not doing it strategically and the right way with the right food. So, you can eat more, and it could be that your food is not as high quality as it needs to be, or it could be that you're simply not balanced enough with your carbs, fats, and proteins. Now, I'm not talking about being perfect here. No, 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 no. That's not what this is about. But there is a level of understanding of what it means to get enough protein into your diet. And when you focus on getting enough protein into your diet, everything else starts to kind of level out a bit. Now, there are some people that are very afraid of eating carbohydrates, and usually the people that are afraid of eating carbohydrates come from a keto background or an Optavia background, or just simply being told that don't eat carbs and you will lose weight. For women, very specifically, you need carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates for your hormone support and your thyroid support. Okay. There's a lot of things in carbohydrates. So if you have a menstrual cycle, you need to be very aware that your body, when you're leading up to your period, that week leading up to your period, your body actually needs a little bit more complex carbohydrates to support that process. Your body is preparing to go through a very specific process that is very important for the female cycle. And if you're not supporting it with the right types of fuel, and one of those is complex carbohydrates, you become a ravenous, crazy person. And that's why you get period cramps. That's why you get period cranky. Listen, here's the thing with periods, but with periods, if you have extreme pain, if you are extremely emotional, having some emotional fluctuations is very common, but I will tell you something. For myself, if I overdo it in caffeine or if I overdo it in my beloved whiskey, because I do like some whiskey here and there, I don't drink a lot. But if I'm going through a phase where I have a little bit more, yeah, it affects my periods. My periods are more crampy. I'm a little bit more emotional. I'm more cranky. And that has a lot to do with the rise in estrogen. So, with that being said, the reverse dieting part of this is helps you not be in this yo-yo effect and you're allowing yourself to give your body refeed your body. I like to call it a refeed versus a reverse diet. And a refeed and a refeed is the same thing, but I just feel like it has a better positive spin to it when you say a refeed because you're like, oh, I'm feeding my body and this feels good. And remember what we've talked about with the brain? The brain does better if you focus on the positive side of things. And so a refeed just feels better. So I've seen this before in a client of mine. In the beginning, the first time that we did the blood work, his thyroid was fine, but he wanted to lose some weight. And in order to lose weight, you do need to be in a calorie deficit, but you need to be in a smart calorie deficit. What do I mean by this? It means you can't be in such a low calorie deficit that you start hurting your metabolism, your hormones, your energy, your sleep, and your thyroid, your entire endocrine system. Your body starts robbing itself if you're in a deficit for too long, in too extreme of a deficit for a long period of time. Which, by the way, these are all the things that I teach in my 6 week On Diet You program. We just launched it yesterday. And for this week, you can still join. We go through all of this stuff and I teach you exactly where you need to be with your calories, but not just your calories, because it's so much more than just that. We go into your macros. What does that need to look like? How do you get enough protein? What's the balance of your carbs and your fats? And trust me, it's not just as easy as doing the same thing for every single person because we have different lifestyles. Your calorie intake and your macro balance depends on your activity level. If you're sedentary, lightly active, moderately active, or highly active like an athlete, it looks different because your basal metabolic rate is lower as a sedentary person than it is as an active person. I'll give you an example. If I want to maintain the weight that I'm at with the active lifestyle that I have, I got to eat over 2,000 calories to maintain it, to maintain hormone function, thyroid function, sleep, cortisol, energy, and my weight and muscle mass. I have to eat over 2,000 calories if I want to maintain that. If I want to lose a little bit, I can go below 2,000 calories and I'll be fine. But I do it in a very strategic way and I won't do it for too long periods of time. So this client went into a calorie deficit, a very safe calorie deficit for a period of time. And 12 weeks later, we reran his lab work to see, how are things going? What do we need to continue to work on? And lo and behold, his thyroid was starting to show that I was getting a little bit affected from a calorie deficit. And so here's what we did. We bumped up his calories to put him into a refeed to make sure that we don't put more damage on the thyroid. Because here's the thing. Once you are in a calorie deficit for too long periods of time, your metabolism starts to adjust and slow down. And that's where you start affecting your thyroid. Okay. So you want a fast metabolism, and a fast metabolism doesn't function on 1,200 calories a day unless you're a 4 foot person. Kids eat more than 1,200 calories a day. Most adults, unless you're a really petite person, most adults have no business eating 1,200 calories a day. Some people even lose their appetite and they have a really, really hard time getting their calories up because they've been eating so low for such a long period of time. One of the signs that your metabolism is starting to get boosted and your metabolism is functioning at a higher level is when you wake up in the morning and within an hour that you're up, you're actually starting to get hungry. If you're the person that drinks coffee first thing in the morning before you eat anything or before you even drink water, you're suppressing your appetite, and that could be why you're not hungry for breakfast. You should be eating something within 30 minutes to an hour of getting up if you have a sluggish metabolism, and this starts that furnace for the day. So when it comes to refeeding, it helps restore the metabolism because after a prolonged calorie restriction on your metabolism, helps with your hormones, helps with your energy and your performance. Every single person that I end up putting into a refeed for a period of time lose weight. Some people end up losing weight during the refeed because they're finally giving their body more so that they metabolically can function better. And I've seen this before, people going into a refeed. Some people lose weight, some people maintain weight, but rarely does anybody ever gain weight. And the reason for this is because we're doing it very smart and very strategic. And so I'll teach you all that stuff if you come over to my 6 week program, www.undietyou.com. You're going to go under 6 week Undiet You program. And the basic level is $49 for the basic level, and the VIP level is $99. Now, if you want to excel your progress, you're going to want to go into the VIP because you get 6 live calls, 1 live call a week where you come into the Zoom call and you get to ask questions, get more help with your calories and your macros. And it's just going to excel and forward your progress a lot faster because you're getting that kind of support. That this is intro pricing and that is what it is. So if you want in now before the price goes up the next round, you're going to want to do it now. Okay. There's so much stuff in here. And I've had people yell at me. They're like, why are you doing it for this low? Like, that's crazy for what you have in there. I'm like, I get it. But I want to help hundreds and thousands of people to go through this. And if you come in now, you're the people that get to be in the beginning. And I know it's crazy, but that's what I'm doing. Okay. Because I'm sick. I am so freaking sick. I'm just going to say it of the diet industry and telling people all these lies that they have to do all these crazy things in order to lose weight. I promise you, you don't have to. You just don't have the right knowledge yet. And the stuff that I'm teaching you is all the stuff the diet industry doesn't want you to know because they want you to keep coming back for more and more or go from one company to the next. So don't get caught up in that. Refeeding, a refeed of calories can also help you transition from a dieting mindset to a healthier, more sustainable relationship with food. Most of the time, when someone goes into a refeed, you're going to bump up slowly. So you could bump up slowly, like 100 calories a week, and see how you feel. You don't want to go from like 1200 to 1500 right away. You want to do it gradually so that your body can adjust. Now, some people do okay with that bump right away because there is easy for them, and other people they have to take a couple weeks to gradually like bump those calories up. But it's very, very feasible. And one of the things that you have to do is you just have to decide that this is what you're going to do and you're going to commit to it. And once you commit to something and then you put action into that, you'll be fine. You got this. But what I will tell you is it makes it a heck of a lot easier if you do it with a professional that can teach you and guide you because it can be very confusing if you don't have that. So, what do you want to do? You want to start with and determine where your calorie intake should be and then slowly bump up from there. Pay attention to hunger cues, energy levels, mental and physical shifts. Like the number one thing that people notice when they go into a refeed is their energy goes up and they're stronger in their workouts. Okay. And they start sleeping better. I mean, who doesn't want to sleep better? Not eating enough calories, not eating enough food, it will affect your sleep. Like I've had moments in my life where I slept terrible. And then after the fact, I realized I wasn't eating enough. Not intentionally, but it was just some, busy life, whatever was going on. And I wasn't intentional with the amount of food that I was giving myself. And so I was sleeping terrible. And that starts to have this ripple effect of your sleep, first of all. And then that translates over into your energy for the day, translates over into your workouts, not having energy for workouts. And it translates over into not being able to recover well. So if you're under eating a lot, you're going to get injured a lot more when you exercise and do your workouts because, well, your body is deficient. It's deficient in the vitamins and minerals and nutrients that it needs to function optimally. That's what food should do. If you're eating good, healthy, whole foods, the majority of the time, if you're cooking at home, you're taking care of your health in that manner, it will make a difference. Who can benefit from a refeed or what they call a reverse dieting? Someone that's a chronic dieter. Okay. So those people that have been in that deficit for a long time, an extended period of time, athletes post competition. So if you're a bodybuilder or a fitness competitor and you need to transition from a cutting phase into a maintenance phase, you're going to benefit from reverse dieting or refeed. Individuals, this one's hard for people to understand. Individuals experiencing a plateau. Did you know that if you are in a plateau and you've been in a calorie deficit and you are in a plateau, the chances are actually really high that you need to go into a refeed, therefore give your body that refeed and the food that it needs, and it will start boosting your metabolism and then you start losing weight again. This always surprises people, but it happens. And one of the things that you can also do is if you are in a calorie deficit 6 days out of the week, and then you take the seventh day and you bump your calories up a little bit for a refeed, you can do that as well. Some people that works really, really well. Other people, it just depends on how steep your calorie deficit is. and whether or not that refeed is going to make up for the overall calorie deficit that you had for the week, because you don't want to do that refeed 1 day a week and then it made up for the entire calorie deficit for all of your days for that week, and now you're just maintaining. You want to be very careful with that. And I know that that sounds confusing, but that's why working with someone that is a professional and can look at those things for you, that's not so confusing, and explain it to you, it becomes a lot easier. Another person is if you're seeking metabolic restoration, like if you're recovering from restriction and disordered eating patterns, you're going to want to do something like this. It boosts your metabolism, it prevents burnout, it improves food relationship because you're not focusing on cutting out, cutting out, cutting out. You're focusing on bringing in, which, by the way, the other thing that I teach, even though if someone is in a calorie deficit when they're in my program, we're not focusing on cutting out. We are focusing on what to bring in and getting to a certain number. So your brain functions on focusing on that goal to get to. So if your goal is 120 grams of protein, I'm going to have you focus on getting to 120 grams of protein, a gallon of water, and a 30-minute walk a day. And that's your goal versus focusing on what you can't have, which is what most diets will teach you is what you can't have. Which, by the way, if you are doing a program or a diet that tells you if you mess up even for 1 day or one moment in the entire program and you have to start over again at the beginning, they're teaching you to focus on failure, not progress. And nobody likes to feel like they failed. We all fail at things sometimes, right? Nobody's perfect. It's not about perfection. And so they're teaching you to focus on failure and how to be perfect with something. So, as if you have something to prove to yourself. But that's not how this goes. Your brain focuses better on it's called the goal gradient effect. You're focusing up, okay? Like getting to the 120 grams of protein a day, you're focusing up to that goal instead of focusing down and saying, I have to stay under a certain number. I want you to practice in your head or writing it down, saying to yourself, I can only have 1,200 calories a day. And check in with yourself. How do you feel when you say that? Then I want you to say, I get to have 1,500 calories a day. That's my goal. My goal is to get there. And I want you to check in with yourself and see how you feel when you say that. It's the same concept when my clients say to me, I'm going to try to drink a gallon of water this week every day. And then I stop them and I ask them, what did you say? And they said, I'm going to try to get a gallon of water a day in. And I asked them, I said, are you going to try or are you going to do? And then they pause and they kind of look at me like, what are you talking about? And that is one of the first lessons I teach them. And I asked them, I said, so how does it feel when you say, I'm going to try to drink a gallon of water a day? And they're like, oh, it kind of feels like maybe I will, but I'm not like fully committed to it. I'm like, exactly. Trying is not committing. Okay. Then I have them switch and say, tell me how it feels to say, I'm going to drink a gallon of water a day this week. How did it feel? And they're like, "Ah, it feels like I'm committed to it. I feel good about it." Exactly. Your words matter. Your words matter so much. I always laugh because I say this joke because I'm like, if I invite someone to a party or an event or something like that, and if that person's response is, I'm going to try and be there, I automatically mark them as a no. You know why? Because 9 times out of 10, they're not going to show up. So it's either a yes or a no. You're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. Now, if you're like, hey, I have this going on, I'm not sure if I can make it, that's different. You've said, I have another thing going on. I'm not sure if I can make it, but if I can, I will absolutely let you know. That's a different story. But if someone responds and says, I'm going to try and make it, I automatically tell myself they've checked it off and they're not committed. The commitment is not there. So start paying attention to the words that you're using. And then here are some things that I want you to remember with this. Patience is key. Refeeding, reverse dieting is a slow process that requires consistency and trust. You have to trust yourself and you have to trust your body that it's going to do what it needs to do. Remember, you can't force your body to do anything that it can't do. If you put a lot of stress and pressure on your body, it's probably not going to do what you want it to do anyway. So you have to have a lot of trust in the process. Quality matters. Focus on nutrient dense foods to maximize your benefits. So if you focus on nutrient dense foods, you have quality there. Okay. The chances are far less for you to gain weight by inflammation and bloating and things like that because you're eating good quality foods. And remember, this is an individualized approach. You adjust things based on your body's needs and responses. So if you're having a day where you feel a little bit more tired, check in with yourself, see where you're at. Did you have enough protein? Are you low in calories? Did you not sleep as well? Like, you have to be flexible. And this helps build metabolic flexibility. It can also improve body composition. Let's just say, for an example, if you're a lady and you're like, I want to grow my glutes, you will not grow your glutes very well if you're in a deficit constantly. Not going to happen. You can't grow muscles with a deficit, extreme deficits. Now, you can tone, which I kind of hate the word tone, but toning basically just means losing body fat percentage and therefore you're leaning out. That's what toning means. So you're leaning out by dropping body fat percentage. Okay. Which body fat? Your overall body fat matters a lot more than your BMI. Just know that. Like BMI is relevant, but also irrelevant because you could have a 200-pound guy that is 8% body fat and he goes to the doctor and he steps on the scale and they tell him he's obese because of his BMI. What you really want to look at is your body fat percentage. Okay. So reverse dieting, let's just recap here a little bit. Have a lot of patience. Remember why you need to do this. And if you need professional help, you know where to go. On dietu.com, go to the 6-week program. If you want more of a tailored, in-depth one-on-one approach, then you're going to want to book a consultation with me. Okay. But if you want to get into the 6-week program to get into the basics and really jumpstart everything for yourself for 2025 so that you can thrive, come join us. This is the last week to join. Okay. We started yesterday, January 20th, and you can still join this week if you're listening to this episode this week. But then after that, no more signups. I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for tuning into the Lizzie Ens Show. If you're ready to take the next step to transforming your health and life, visit www.undietu.com for all my resources and to book your consultation today. Don't forget to subscribe and join me each week for more tips, inspiration, and conversations with phenomenal guests to help you feel your best. See you guys next week.